You think your problem is stress, disrespect, betrayal, pressure, or fear. It's not. Those are just symptoms, surface noise, excuses your mind uses to avoid the real enemy. Your real problem is this: you allow one uncontrolled thought to decide how you feel, how you act, and ultimately who you become. One thought spirals and suddenly your mood collapses. One comment lands and your confidence disappears. One moment of pressure and you abandon discipline. Right now, as you're watching this, there are men who will never hear this truth, and they will stay weak because of it. They'll blame people. They'll blame circumstances. They'll blame luck. And they'll wonder why their lives never change. If you skip this lesson, understand this clearly. You are choosing the same fate. Not because you're incapable, but because you avoided responsibility. Subscribe now, not later, not after the video, because men who delay discipline always pay for it in chaos, regret, and lost years they can never reclaim. This channel is about inner discipline, and if you don't lock that involuntarily, life will force it on you, through humiliation, loss, pressure, and pain. The choice is simple. Control your mind now, or be controlled by everything else later. You believe external events control you. What people say, what they take, what they think, what goes wrong when you did everything right. You tell yourself it's normal to react, that anger is justified, that anxiety is unavoidable, that resentment is earned. Stoicism cuts through that illusion with a brutal reality. Nothing outside of you has power unless you hand it over. Not words, not loss, not betrayal, not chaos. The moment you truly understand this, your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start seeing yourself as the final authority. Your relationships change because you no longer beg for validation or react for approval. Your reactions change because you realize that emotional outbursts are not strength, they are surrender. A man who controls his inner world cannot be controlled by the outer one. Pressure no longer bends him. Provocation no longer moves him. Disrespect no longer defines him. A woman who masters her judgment becomes unshakable. She doesn't absorb chaos. She doesn't internalize cruelty. She stands firm even when the world attempts to break her resolve. This level of control makes people uncomfortable, because they can no longer manipulate you through fear, praise, or threat. This isn't motivation. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't denial. This is self-mastery, the discipline of choosing your response, even when everything around you demands that you lose control. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. Principle 1. You are not disturbed by events. You are disturbed by your judgment of events. Nothing that happens to you carries meaning on its own. Meaning is assigned. And once you understand that, emotional control becomes possible. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. This proverb doesn't suggest thinking influences behavior. It states that thinking is behavior at its root. Your inner dialogue silently dictates your posture, your tone, your decisions, and your limits. Epictetus said, "Men are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them." This is the foundation of Stoicism. Events are neutral. Judgment is optional. Pause. Interrogate the thought. Strip emotion from the interpretation. The pause is where freedom lives. Without it, you react like an animal. With it, you act like a disciplined mind. Thoughts are suggestions, not commands. Emotion follows belief, not reality. If you believe an insult defines you, you feel wounded. If you believe a loss ruins you, you feel defeated. Change the belief and the emotion collapses. An insult doesn't hurt you. Your agreement with it does. Most people sign emotional contracts without reading them. They accept thoughts automatically and pay the price. Ancient Stoics trained themselves to see every event as neutral, neither good nor bad, until consciously judged. They did not ask, "How do I feel?" They asked, "Is this actually harmful?" The next time anger rises, say internally, "This is my judgment, not the truth." Say it slowly, say it deliberately, and feel your power return. Principle 2. You always have control over your response. Always, even when you feel like you don't. He who rules his spirit is greater than he who takes a city. Conquest of others is easy. Conquest of self is rare. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. The strongest man in the room is the one who doesn't need to prove it. The strongest woman is the one who cannot be shaken by chaos. Withdraw attention from what you cannot control. Redirect energy toward what you can. Attention is currency. Spend it wisely or lose it completely. Power is not force. Power is restraint. Anyone can lash out. Few can hold the line. A man who explodes is predictable. A man who stays calm is feared. A woman who reacts emotionally is manageable. A woman who remains composed becomes untouchable." Stoics trained daily to expect hardship so it never surprised them. They rehearsed loss. They rehearsed insult. They rehearsed pressure. So when it came, it held no power. Ask yourself once per day, is this within my control? If not, release it immediately. No negotiation. No emotional attachment. Principle 3. Emotional reactions are habits, not destiny. You weren't born reactive. You were conditioned. Do not be quick in your spirit to become angry. Speed is the enemy of wisdom. Slowness is strength. Seneca taught that anger is a temporary madness. It narrows vision. It destroys judgment. It convinces you that destruction is justice. Delay reaction. Silence is a weapon. Silence denies others the control they seek over you. Time weakens emotion. Impulse strengthens regret. Every reaction feels justified in the moment, and foolish later. Most damage happens in seconds. Most wisdom appears after restraint. Careers end. Relationships collapse. Reputations are destroyed because someone couldn't wait. Ancient Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort to reduce emotional dependency. Cold, hunger, silence. They trained themselves to remain steady without comfort. When triggered, wait 10 slow breaths before speaking or acting. Count them. Feel the tension dissolve. Then decide. Principle 4. Your identity is shaped by what you refuse to react to. What controls you defines you. The prudent overlook an insult, not because they are weak, but because they are disciplined. Epictetus taught that dignity comes from indifference to provocation. The unprovoked mind is ungovernable. Choose composure over ego. Ego demands reaction. Discipline demands alignment. Ego seeks validation. Discipline seeks internal order. One makes noise. The other builds authority. The man who ignores disrespect forces others to question themselves. The woman who stays grounded unsettles chaos. People fear what they cannot manipulate. Stoics believed self-respect was internal, never granted by others. Approval was irrelevant. Character was everything. Let one insult pass today without response. Say nothing. Do nothing. Observe how much power returns to you. That silence is not weakness. It is dominance. When you control this one thought, your judgment, you become untouchable. Not because life gets easier, but because nothing external can reach your core without your consent. Chaos loses access to you, can surround you, threaten you, even pressure you, but it can no longer enter you. People lose leverage over you because manipulation requires emotional access, and you've closed the gate. Fear stops dictating your moves because fear feeds on uncertainty, and you now command clarity. You respond instead of react. You choose instead of explode. You observe instead of collapse. A man who develops inner discipline becomes dangerous in the best possible way. He cannot be rushed. He cannot be baited. He cannot be controlled through anger, praise, or intimidation. A woman who masters her judgment becomes impossible to manipulate. She doesn't absorb other people's chaos. She doesn't internalize disrespect. She stands firm when pressure demands submission. This level of self-command creates a quiet authority. You don't announce it. You don't explain it. Others feel it immediately. This is not emotional numbness. This is not suppression. This is not calmness for appearance. This is authority over self. The rare discipline of ruling your inner world so completely that no situation, no person, and no moment can force you out of alignment. And once you reach this level, you don't chase control. Control follows you. Master your judgment, and no situation can master you. Because situations have no will of their own, they only test yours. When your mind is disciplined, pressure loses its grip, chaos loses its voice, and fear loses its authority. Nothing outside of you can command obedience unless you surrender it first. Rule your inner world, and the outer world is forced to adjust. Most men will scroll past this and remain ruled by impulse, anger, and distraction. Most women will ignore it and continue handing their peace to situations that don't deserve it. If you don't subscribe now, understand what you're choosing. Comfort over discipline. And comfort always betrays you when pressure arrives. Subscribe, like, share this with someone who still believes the world controls them. Inner discipline is built daily. Skip one lesson, and weakness quietly takes its place. The choice is yours.